Hello, I'm Bobby Zobel, and welcome back to People in Perspective. Today on the program we have Dr. Freytas, a principal at Riverside Brookfield High School. How are you doing today?
Best day of my life is today, Bobby. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, So, have you ever been interviewed on RBTV before?
I think I was. This is my fourth year here, so definitely when I started, maybe we took a little pause during COVID, but now I'm back with you.
Yeah. So, how do you like being a principal so far in the first 4 years?
You know what? I absolutely love it. I mean, it's my dream career. I get to work with great young people like yourself and your classmates. I get to work with fantastic educators, teachers, staff that inspire me every day. I get to work with parents that support me and believe in me. I have a great superintendent who mentors me. I count my blessings every day. This is a good career. This is a great school, and I'm blessed to be a part of it.
Great to hear. So mostly when I've had principals, they've been Mr. or Mrs., but you're Dr. Freytas.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Okay, so I'm not a medical doctor. Can't save you, but I can help you get to college and fulfill your dreams, right? We can talk through that. So I earned my doctorate, my Ed.D. from National Louis University. So after my second master's degree, I wanted to continue a little more and earn my doctorate. So today I use the title, Dr. Freytas, as well as our superintendent and assistant superintendent, who also earned their doctorate degrees. And we have a few teachers right now who are pursuing their doctorate degrees as well.
Good. So before you became Dr. Freytas, what were you doing before?
So before my job here, right, as principal, in Brookfield, at Riverside Brookfield, I was a principal in Chicago. Prior to Chicago, I was an assistant principal at Westmont. Prior to Westmont, I was a teacher. I was a dean at Morton, Morton East the Morton Freshman Center in Cicero. Prior to that, I was a Spanish teacher at Morton East, and prior to that, I was a fourth grade teacher at Booker T. Washington Elementary. So I started with the little kids, started working with the teenagers, and then I followed the administrative track.
So were you always wanting to be a principal?
I always loved education. I love schools. I love what they offer. I love learning. I wanted to be involved in the educational setting, in the K-12 kind of setting. Did I know I wanted to be principal? Well, along your educational journey, right, you do a couple things right, then you have a few mentors or colleagues say, hey, maybe you can have a broader influence, right? Because as an administrator, I'm responsible, right, for more adults and more students. So it really fell in through the advice of teachers that I love and admired and mentored me, and they kind of, guided me to say, you know what, you're very involved. You put in the hours. You love working with teams. Why don't you try leadership? So I tried it, and so far, so good. I'm not a perfect human being, but I strive to do my best every day.
And so you said you were principals and teachers at other schools.
Yes.
And how are those different than what you're doing at RB?
Well, when I was in Chicago, there was just a lot more energy. Right, I was on the north side of the city, just a lot more obstacles that I dealt with as a principal, and my students dealt with, right, and it was a much smaller school as well. I was at a school of about 600 students. Our RB is 1650, right, so I have more adults, more students to be responsible for, but the setting, is different, right? I have a more suburban feel, more resources, more access. In Chicago, you're in the major city. You're surrounded by buildings and skyscrapers, and sometimes it's just harder, to do things, right? It's more complex. Prior to that, right, I was a teacher. I was in the classroom. I had my 150 students that I was responsible for, that, I hope I taught them how to be biliterate and bilingual, because I was a Spanish teacher, and my goal was to create bilingual human beings so they can read, write, speak, and listen effectively, in two languages.
So at RB, if you go to any sports game, you will always be there. And that makes me wonder, did you play in high school or before that?
I did. So in junior high, I did basketball and volleyball. I enjoyed them both, but I like to roughhouse, right? And in basketball, I would get a lot of fouls. In volleyball, I needed to pass the ball kind of around, and I was missing that physical contact. So when I came to high school, I kind of warmed to football, where I can hit I played an outside linebacker and safety, and I absolutely loved it. And that kind of led me to wrestling. I grew up a big wrestling fan. Right during my times with WWF, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Razor Ramon, those guys. But I realized, right, that's kind of choreographed athletics. It's wrestling, it's authentic. But then I discovered Olympic style wrestling, American freestyle wrestling, which is my bread and butter. I absolutely loved it. I did it for 4 years in high school, and then I did it in college as well, independently. I also did track and field. I ran the hurdles. I did long jump, triple jump, and in college I played rugby for the University of Barcelona.
Interesting. So you are pretty involved in sports.
I am absolutely love it, right?
So we know that you're not always at the school. So what do you do outside of it? What do you like to do?
Yeah, right. I mean, surprisingly, right, guys, I do have a life. I'm happily married to my college sweetheart. A quick story, right? First time I tried to court her, she actually refused my advances. It's okay, right? We're still friends. I pursued her. I matured, and then, my second time around, she accepted a proposition to go on a date, and right, the rest is history. We're happily married and have 3 wonderful boys. My oldest is AJ, he's 5.5. My middle one is Mello, 3.5, and my youngest is Romeo, 1.5. So I spend a lot of time with my boys. I have them in wrestling, in soccer, in swimming, in music. I take them through different parts of the city and the suburbs because I intentionally want to expose my kids to different groups of people. And it's important to me that they're involved in athletics so they build a strong body, they learn how to swim, they learn how to protect themselves, God forbid something worse to happen. So I'm involved. I mean, my weekends are busier probably than my weekdays, and you guys see me here 10, 12 hours a day. So I spend a lot of time with my family, I spend a lot of time, with my wife. I watch a little TV, we talk a lot, so I spend a lot of time with my family. That's what I do.
Sounds great. So for anyone watching that wants to be a principal or a teacher, what is some advice you give them?
Take school seriously and do well in school. Dedicate yourself to being a lifelong learner. Don't assume you know everything. Find out and seek. Pursue education. We need more teachers, right? Not only here in the state of Marin, but throughout America. Major in education, right? Social studies education, math education, world language education, career and technical education. Major in that while you're in college because there are plenty of opportunities out there. I also tell people who want to be educators, pursue multiple endorsements. Get your certification in content area and get your special education endorsement. Get your ESR bilingual endorsement so you can make yourself more marketable, right? If you could teach diverse learners, if you could teach students that speak different languages and general education students, schools are going to be fighting for you. Trust me, I hire people as a principal, and those are the people I look for, people with multiple endorsements so they can engage multiple students. But, if you can deal with teenagers, and understand that there are bad actions but not bad young people, education is for you. If you're a patient individual, if you're okay with repeating yourself and following up, education is for you. Usually the benefits are pretty good, salaries competitive. I know there are other professions out there, but it's fulfilling, at least to me, to see a young person grow thanks to their efforts and one's help. I always say a student's success brings joy to my life. So if you want to bring joy to your life and you see success in others, especially young people, education is for you.
That's great to hear. Sorry we're out of time, but thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming and learning more about our principal, Dr. Freytas. And I'll see you next time on People in Perspective.